Hi Ronaldo, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
There's a war going on. You can't separate the music and the message.
How does it feel to portray Bob Marley in a production like this?
It feels really special because the family have been involved from the very, very beginning, and they were with me throughout the whole process of preparation, and they were there on set every day, and they've been a huge part of the edit and now in the promotion of the film. So to be a part of this with them is makes it really special. It wouldn't happen without them.
How was it like to play Chris Blackwell in this film and to be part of it?
Yeah, I mean, it was a privilege. It's taken however many decades to get the first Bob Marley biopic off the ground, and knowing that the family, you know, Ziggy, Marley, and others gave it their blessing and allowed us this incredible responsibility and privilege to sort of tell this story now. You know, we all went into this with a lot of, we were, you know, aware of the responsibility. Bob Marley is a god, is a demigod. You know, he's an icon across the world, and I know Kingsley really felt the responsibility. In terms of Chris Blackwell, yeah, I mean, look, within the music industry, he's a titan. I don't think there's any real music producer out there like him. If you look at his roster, it's insane. Grace Jones and others, you know, Toots and the Maytals, John Martin, it just goes on and on and on. So it was a privilege and a pleasure to like dive deep into this man's life, and I knew a little bit about him, but I got to really go deep and try and do him justice and find the real man beyond all the sort of stats and the more kind of academic stuff. I loved it though, it's a real privilege.
December 3rd, 1976, would-be assassins invaded Bob Marley's home and attempted to take the life of the singer, his wife, and...
Don't worry about that.
The world hasn't changed much since the late 70s, the period you portray in the film. How important do you think it is to spread Bob Marley's love message nowadays?
Yeah, I think, look, you know, the timing of the film happened organically. I can't control that. I think for me, the universe is sort of speaking. You know, it's one of these things, even how the project came to me or why it came to me. Those are things I can't predict. They're out of my control. But what we tried to focus on was trying to make a timely movie, a timeless movie, not a timely movie. That's what Bob's music has done. His music has stood the test of time. Any great film does that. So that's what we're always trying to achieve, is something that, you know, as you said, his music is just as important now today as it was when he first made it. And I think that's the relevancy of the film. And that's what we were trying to achieve. The bar, he had already set the bar. And so it was up to us not to mess it up and just spread his message of unity, love, peace for people that don't know Bob. For generations, for my kids that don't know who Bob Marley is, who will learn and discover it through Kingsley and Lashana, their relationship, their courtship. And so the film is an opportunity. It's a huge opportunity for us. And yeah, we tried to handle it with care.
And what is the message?
Peace.
Oh, life is worth much more than gold.
What was it like to play Rita Marley in the movie?
It was a lot of things. It was definitely an honor. It was slightly surreal at times, but very comforting to know that we had the help and guidance from the children. We were able to access information, access little intricate details that we may not know in the moment. They were right there on set, ready to answer. And then, of course, the creme de la creme, I was able to sit with Mrs. Marley twice in the comfort of her home. We sat, we ate, we laughed, we talked about love, we talked about Bob. It was just, an absolute honor to meet her and be able to, you know, bottle her energy to ensure that her spirit is in the film.
Have the backing of the family, it was really a blessing.
All the family is glad to be part of this. You tell different sides of Bob.
There were many challenges for shooting this movie. You play someone with such a great and iconic personality? You have movement coach, language coach, guitar coach. What can you tell us about that? Were you afraid of not getting it right?
I guess you have to give in to not always getting it right, because you're gonna find it when you stop worrying about trying to be perfect or try to get it, you know. And I felt like with the support of the family and access to Bob's friends and loved ones, and to be invited into Bob's family's homes and to spend time in his mum's house in Miami and to hang out with his best friends from before he was famous, I felt like I had everything around me. You know, everyone was willing it to be good, you know. And so I felt pretty safe and secure with the family. And it was just about doing the work.
Kingsley do a great job in an artful way, not trying to mimic my father.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the music that we hear in the film was re-recorded and wonderfully remixed. And how was that process?
Yeah, you hear a lot of Bob's music in the film, and Bob's real vocals, real music, and so the process is great because it's like watching if you go back and watch some videotapes, that it's hard to hear the quality of the sound. You're losing instrumentation on stereo mixes. And so when you're able to get a 5-1 mix or a 7-1 mix, it makes that experience a lot richer. You're pulling detail. It's like adding color, deeper blacks to the screen. There's ways to enhance that. So when you hear the horns, or you hear the instrumentation, or why they chose certain instruments, or the different frequencies in which they were using in the film, I think the nuances of the music can only be richer in today's technology. And so we had access in a way that can spread the music in a way that envelops you if you're in a theater, you know. And I think that's amazing. For people that grew up in stereo, they didn't get that experience. And so I think it's quite an amazing experience to experience it in a movie theater, with the quality of engineering that we have today, to make his music even richer than it was when it first came out.
The jamming was a thing of the past. With jamming.
Did you receive any special recommendation, any special advice about her, directly from her?
Not so much, actually. I went with a bunch of questions, and I thought that I would just reel off the questions and try and get all the answers and write loads of notes. I did not take my notepad out once. I just sat there on the floor, cross-legged, staring at her, really. And I'm glad she wasn't freaked out by it, because I was definitely staring. I found it more important as these meetings went on to capture her energy and really feel where her spirit is now and where it was at the time. And if I really understood that spectrum, then I was able to represent her fully and authentically in the movie. That was the most important thing for me.
Bob, they try to kill you and your wife. And now you're choosing to return to Jamaica to play a peace concert?
Did you met him personally, or?
I did. I met him in person at the premiere, which was really exciting. Yeah, and actually the strange, surreal thing was that whoever did the seating plan decided to sit him right next to me. So he sat like one row in front, but diagonally away from me. And so I couldn't really watch the movie. All I watched was Chris Blackwell's face, and trying to gauge whether he was enjoying it or not, whilst he watched me play him. So I wouldn't recommend that again. It was very stressful. But luckily he seemed to like the movie and was very gracious afterwards.
Don't worry about a thing. Not every little thing gonna be alright. You like that one?
Yeah.
What was the most amazing thing that you discovered about Bob Marley in your research for this film?
Most amazing thing, maybe. Well, how crazy it is to write that many hit songs in such a short space of time. And I don't mean hit songs, because some of the songs that weren't hits were some of my favorites. But to write that much music that's consistently incredible, it made me really wonder what it took for Bob to do that, and like what it cost him, what he went through to make that happen. So all of that just became really interesting, and to spend time with him, or to spend time reflecting on him as an artist and as a human being, and as a father, and as a guy who nearly died with his band and his family, you know, on that night. He then went to London and created one of the greatest albums of all time in a matter of months. I really found it fascinating to just sit with all of that and think about him at that time.
That's a hit. Reggae is the people music.
You know you're a superstar.
The film premieres in many regions on February 14th. And is it a coincidence that it premieres in a date that is dedicated to celebrate love?
I think there's some really smart people, but you know, making this film. And look, we were supposed to release the film in January, and a confluence of events got us off that date. And I think, you know, when you think about One Love and you think about Valentine's Day, it's it's Bob's birthday in February. It's Black History Month. There's so much richness about this particular date and about love. We have a love story in a lot of ways in our movie. And so I think Bob's music is a message of love to the people. So it's the universe again, I think, working in our favor to tell us that this is the date. I don't know. This is when you're supposed to come out. So I don't predict those things. It has nothing to do with what I do. I hope to make something great and share it with you on whatever date that you get it. But yeah, it's not a bad date to go out on at all.
Not everyone likes what you're saying. For your own safety, you need to stop.
And what was the most amazing thing you learned about her?
All of it. All of it, honestly. Every single inch of it. She's really, when talking about Bob and her respect and love for him, you can see how fresh it is. It's almost as though she's 14 years old again and she's like feeling the love from Bob right in the room. That's what it felt like for me. And for, you know, Bob to have not been physically on the earth for like 40 years now, for her to still speak of him and her love for him in that way was really special to witness.
A superstar. You can't separate the music and the message. You see, reggae music come to unify the people.
Okay, do you have a favorite Bob Marley song?
There are many. I want to say there's 20, but I'll go with Steer It Up because I've loved it since I was a child.
So just say.
I get asked all the time. I mean, there's so many. It's difficult, isn't it? It's like, it changes, you know, depending on what mood I'm in, which period of my life I'm in. I mean, Waiting in Vain, I love. Redemption Song is particularly special for Chris Blackwell because it was the one song he persuaded Bob to sing on the acoustic, and Bob was reticent to do that. And so I think Chris was particularly attached to that. And for me as well, I don't know, when I was growing up and I listened to Legend on repeat, that was one which really chimed. I just think it's so beautiful. Jamming for me now has a real special significance because of when we shot the jamming sequence. It was the most fun I think I've ever had in a film set because all the musicians are musicians, so every time the cameras would stop rolling, they would just keep playing, and we would go to the green room and we would just carry on jamming with them. So that was really fun.
Redemption Song. I always use that one because I don't know what it is about that song that just gets me emotional. I don't know. It just has that effect on me. There's certain songs that hit and strike a chord with you for whatever personal reason, whatever journey you're on. And that one in particular just sits heavy. It sits heavy on my consciousness. I think I feel the pain and struggle in which he was singing from. I don't know, there's just so much in that song that I connect with on a personal level. It was part of the framing device for me for this film. Even where he, you know, the scene where he says at the end, I've been writing this my whole life.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you a lot, Ronaldo, and congratulations.
Thank you so much.